From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, April the 28th, 2021. 2 rockets were fired at Israel from Gaza just after midnight last night. Both fell short and landed inside Gaza. No damage or injury was reported. The rockets follow a weekend of incessant rocket fire at Israel. Over 40 projectiles launched at Israel Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, many of which landed in open areas and others were intercepted by the Iron Dome missile defense battery. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today agreed to appoint Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz as Justice Minister. This follows a contentious day, as we reported to you about yesterday, in the cabinet, where Netanyahu put through a vote without Gantz's consent to appoint fellow Likud member Ophir Akunis to the position. A vote which Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit called illegal for violating the coalition agreement between Netanyahu and Gantz. Now, Gantz had been serving as interim justice minister for several months until that term expired and had put himself forward for the position again yesterday, which Netanyahu refused, questioning whether the agreement with Gantz was still valid after the most recent elections. Well, last night, Israel's High Court temporarily froze Akunis's appointment. And today, Netanyahu's office said that after his compromise offers were once again rejected this morning, and to exit the dead end and enable the necessary activity of the Justice Ministry, the Prime Minister has decided to appoint Benny Gantz as Justice Minister in the transitional government. American and Israeli officials met in Washington, D.C. to discuss concerns about Iran and the possibility of the U.S. re-entering the Iran deal. The talks were led by U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and his Israeli counterpart, Meir Ben Shabbat, yesterday, whom the White House said discussed their serious concerns about advancements in Iran's nuclear program in recent years. Also adding that the United States and Israel agreed on the significant threat posed by Iran's aggressive behavior in the region, and U.S. officials underscored President Biden's unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. and to the UN, Gilad Erdan, who took part in the meeting as well, called it an excellent one. Tweeting, "We discussed our shared goal of preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons and agreed to work together to strengthen our security ties." Well, Jewish organizations are sharing their outrage and their outright rejection of a report released yesterday by Human Rights Watch, which accuses Israel of apartheid and persecution in regards to its treatment of the Palestinians. The American Jewish Committee called this the latest chapter in an anti-Israel campaign by the once reputable watchdog group, noting that the report also was written by longtime anti-Israel activist Omar Shakir. The AJC cited among, it said, the many flaws in the report was that it includes Israel's law of return, that Jews around the world are assured a home in Israel, as an example of Israel's discrimination. Also saying that the report completely ignores terror group Hamas's stated intention to wipe Israel off the map and Hamas's terrorist attacks against Israel. The Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations slammed the accusations against Israel as well, writing that the apartheid system practiced by South Africa was characterized by tyranny and dehumanization. This has no equivalence, the conference leaders wrote, referring to Israel, to a vibrant democracy where all citizens have rights and representation in the national legislature. These kinds of misguided efforts to vilify Israel inflame existing tensions and incite violence, obstructing the path to peace and the resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, adding that HRW should be denounced for giving voice to such vicious hate while purporting to defend human rights. The European Parliament passed a resolution today condemning hate speech and violence taught in Palestinian textbooks and schools run by UNRWA, the UN's agency for Palestinian refugees. The Times of Israel reports that the resolution calls for such content to be removed and for EU aid to be conditioned on educational materials complying with UNESCO standards of peace, tolerance, coexistence, and non-violence. Marcus Sheff, who leads the Israeli watchdog Impact SC, called the resolution unprecedented. Washington's National Cathedral announced yesterday that it has added a stone carving of the late Holocaust survivor, acclaimed author, and Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel to its human rights porch, which includes carvings of Mother Teresa and Rosa Parks, to name just a few. Dean of the Cathedral, the Reverend Randolph Marshall Hollerith, said that Elie Wiesel's life is an extraordinary testimony to the indomitable human spirit and the triumph of love of thy neighbor over hatred and fear, even amidst the darkest and most devastating periods of human history. Wiesel's widow, Marion Wiesel, said not only does his presence in the National Cathedral memorialize his life and honor his commitment to human rights, it also ensures that new generations will learn from his teachings and carry the lessons of his life forward into the future. The dedication of the Wiesel bust will take place this fall. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, April the 28th at 7 o'clock. Michael Goldman-Gilead, a key member of the Special Israeli Police Unit created to gather evidence for the trial of Adolf Eichmann, discusses his work and the trial with Elie Rosenbaum at the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York City. At 8 o'clock, British Colonel Richard Kemp describes the unique moral qualities of the IDF. And Sarah Edan, Miss Iraq of 2017, receives a special award at the 2019 Stand With Us Gala. At 9, Mark Golub speaks with co-creator and star of the hit Israeli TV series on Netflix, Fauda, Lior Raz, on L'chaim. At 10, Mati Friedman and Mijal Biton discuss the secret role of Mizrahi spies. And coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, April the 28th, 2021. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy. Stay well.